lot of Ravens fans the general consensus I'm getting is that not a lot of Ravens fans are concerned about this game against the Colts. And I feel like we should be. I feel like Ravens fans should absolutely be concerned about this Colts game. It just feels to me like people are expecting us to go into Indianapolis, no problem, and beat them just because they have Phillip Rivers at quarterback. That seems to be the general consensus. But the Colts are a good team. Let's not forget, we're both 5-2 teams here. We're up basically on the same level record-wise. You can argue that the Ravens on paper are the better team, whatever. But we're both 5-2 football teams. We're both in the AFC. We're both competing for that playoff spot, right? So this is not going to be an easy game. Not to mention that our entire defense is on the COVID list, right? And we already know Marlon Humphrey for sure is not playing. He's our best defensive player. We're going to be without Marlon Humphrey this game. We already know that for sure. We don't know if the rest of the guys will be able to play as well. That's another concern for me. Pretty much our entire starting defense was put on the COVID list. They're not going to practice this week at all. That's a problem. And we don't even know if they're all going to come back negative. What if there's some of their, like even half of that list, if it comes out positive, we're screwed, bro. We don't have a defense. Now, we still have like the defensive line and we'll still be able to get pressure, hopefully. But it's not looking good. It is not looking good for the Baltimore Ravens at this moment in time. You hope that all the tests come back negative and all those guys that are on the COVID list are able to play. But even still, if that is the case, we're still down some cornerbacks, right? We're only down to 4 active cornerbacks as far as I understand it. We have Marcus Peters, Jimmy Smith, and then I think Terrell Bonds and Khalil Dorsey, if I'm not mistaken. So just some absolute trash bin players, just nobodies, aside from Jimmy Smith and Marcus Peters, obviously. Terrell Bonds was getting beat last week against the Steelers. So it's not looking good, man. It is not looking good. The one thing that I will lay my hat on and why I do still have some faith in this game, I'm not completely counting out my team. I'm not at all trying to say that the Ravens have no chance of winning against the Colts, because there are a few things that I'm looking at. For one, the running game was still amazing against the Steelers. We were still able to rush for over 200 yards on probably the best run defense in the league, right? They were only allowing an average of, I believe, about 68 yards per game. And we put up over 200 yards on the ground on that Steelers defense. So the Colts are coming in here. They're bragging about their run defense, but I truly do believe that we're able to run on anybody, as long as we actually call running plays and we just don't panic and go to the pass early on, which is something that we always tend to do. Shout out to Greg Roman. But that's one thing that I still do feel confident about, at least, is our running game. I still think we should be able to run on the Colts at least. And also, I don't feel too afraid of their running game either. It hasn't been that great, and our run defense has been pretty damn spectacular. Really, I always talk about it. The only 2 games that really you saw some leaks in the running game were against the Eagles, where Miles Sanders broke off like a 60-yard run, and Brandon Williams wasn't playing in that game, so that's what I attribute that to. And also in week 1 against the Browns, we struggled a little bit containing Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, but I mean, it's Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. What can you really expect? So aside from those 2 games, the run defense has been on point. We haven't really allowed outside runs like we were last year. Running up the middle is just not an option. So that's one thing that I also am laying my hat on. Our run defense is still going to be great. My concern is our passing defense for this game, because what we've seen when we go up against these quarterbacks, these veteran quarterbacks like a Ben Roethlisberger, who else? Even a Carson Wentz, you can consider a veteran quarterback. They still do suffer, like in the first half at least of games, that they're just confused, right? They're confused because of all the blitzes we send, and it's hard to move the ball. But then you start seeing them make halftime adjustments, and especially when it's a veteran quarterback, that's when they get the hot read. They start to see, okay, they're sending this blitz here. They figure it out eventually. So that's what I'm concerned about with Phillip Rivers. I understand he has a tendency to throw, interceptions, and that's what we're hoping for. But with our cornerback situation, all they really have to do is go 5 wide. And then I just don't feel like we have an answer for that right now. I don't feel like we have an answer for that right now, especially because we don't have Marlon Humphrey playing in this game. So if we do lose this game, it's going to be because Phillip Rivers is able to throw the ball on us. They're able to get open with those receivers. They still have some decent receivers now. T.Y. Hilton hasn't been that great, but if he's up to it, he could have a good day. Michael Pittman, as I understand it, is supposed to come back. So they have some receivers that can take advantage of our cornerback injuries. So that's my main concern is the passing offense for the Colts. If we can coax Phillip Rivers into throwing some interceptions and we can take advantage of those interceptions and actually score, then it would be a pretty good day for us. Now for the offensive side of the ball, obviously that's been the main concern all season for us Ravens fans, for the Ravens. I'm not counting out that Lamar could have a bounce back game. We've seen throughout his career, he's actually a better quarterback on the road than he is at home. It's crazy, it's weird, but that's how it is. Every time Lamar goes on the road, it seems like he wins. The only road losses he's had is at Arrowhead, both against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Those have literally been in his entire career. Think about this. He's now played for last season, an entire season, about half of his rookie season, and now about half of this season. So say about 2 years starting, right? So in his 2 years starting, technically, he's only lost 2 road games. He's only lost 2 road games at Arrowhead. Those are the only 2 road games he's lost. So I am not at all discounting Lamar Jackson to possibly have a bounce back game, because coming off of that Steelers game, man, it's rough. You guys know how I feel about it. I felt like he lost us that game. So, but I'm not counting out the fact that he could have a type of bounce back game against the Colts on the road where he just happens to play better. So there's that factor. There's also our running game that I think we can run on anybody. So I understand the Colts feel good about their defensive line, but the passing game is going to suffer. As you guys know, it's been probably our biggest weakness so far. Teams just seem to be doubling Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews, and it's working. Nobody else is really getting open. Devin Duvernay has done some good things. Willie Snead is starting to pick it up a little bit. But yeah, man, that's definitely a concern of mine, is that defensive line going up against our offensive line. We of course lost Ronnie Stanley. He's out for the season. He's not going to be playing in this game. And we lost Tyree Phillips, who was the starting right guard. However, what we saw last week against the Steelers from Patrick McCarry stepping in there, I feel like he actually works better for this offensive line. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because he has a little more chemistry than Tyree Phillips did, as Tyree Phillips is a rookie. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think Patrick McCarry will slide in at right guard, no problem. I'm assuming they're going to keep Orlando Brown over there at left tackle and then have DJ Fluker at right tackle. So that could be a problem, because the Colts defensive line is nasty, man. It's another nasty defensive line. I don't think it's as good as the Steelers defensive line. I won't say that, but they're still good, man. They have some dogs on there. You got to worry about it. So I am concerned about how we're going to do in the passing game. I still think we should be able to run the ball, and I'm hoping we do run the ball. I'm hoping we don't panic and go to the passing game too early when we don't need to. And if we do pass the ball, all I want to see is Lamar pass out of play action, out of RPOs, and pass in the red zone, because that's where he absolutely excels. Those 3 situations. If we have him just drop back, 5-step drops, 7-step drops, it's not going to work. It hasn't worked all season. So we need to be creative. We need to play our game. We need to embrace our identity if we're going to win against the Colts. But as it stands right now, from where I'm sitting here on Wednesday, I'm not feeling too good about this game. I am not feeling too good about this game. I feel like we don't really match up too well with the Colts right now, especially with all the guys on the COVID list. It's a little concerning. It is a little concerning. And to be honest with you, right now, how I feel about it, I would not be surprised if we do end up losing this game. So that's just kind of how I feel about it right now, man. Things could obviously change by Friday, by Saturday. Maybe my, change of heart will happen. But as it stands right now, I would not be, I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts are able to beat us. So it sucks, but it is what it is, man. That's how I feel about it right now. Hopefully all those guys are able to come back and play, because if not, we're basically screwed. Seriously.